Hey everyone, welcome to another Cats and Rats NHL After Dark. I'm your host, Kirby Lipple, joined alongside my co-host for this evening, Nicholas J. Levine. How's it going, Nick?
Pretty good, Curb. How about you, man?
Not bad, just reading off the screen there. So this is going to be kind of a little bit of an open format with everyone in the chat today, but obviously we're going to start like with the second round of the playoffs here, Nick. We'll get into some Panther talk a little bit later, a lot of coaching and management stuff that we've got to get into, and then maybe give our picks a little bit later on here before we close out. I know our other co-hosts that are not with us here today, Cody Stevens and Cesar Lucero, and our producer, Ryan Chinera. We didn't get their picks, so we'll get them probably sometime tomorrow when we're on the live stream. So we're going to be here live.
Again, tomorrow night, we're going to be here live. Game 7 of the second round, the final game of the second round. Interesting note, the winner of the Game 7 in the second round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs last year, the Atlantic Division Eastern Conference matchup, they went on to win the Stanley Cup, that team. You might know them. But moving aside past that, we're going to discuss all different scenarios. But first off, whoever wins tomorrow, they're going to be getting a very well-rested Carolina Hurricanes team. This is the longest layoff in NHL playoff history. I wonder, how long were the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final from the conference final to the Cup final? Was it 11 days?
I think it was 11. Yeah,
okay. So this is 12. This is the longest in NHL history. By the time the Eastern Conference final begins, Carolina will have played just 8 games in 36 days. And again, when you win the conference and you are that good, that's the benefit you get. And for a team that's played a lot of hockey over the last couple of years, obviously some teams have played a little bit more. I think this is like the best case scenario for them, right? Because they're through 2 rounds, 8 games, 36 days. You'd have to think, Kirby, that the energy level, whether it be injuries or whatever, it's going to be like a first, second round this next 2 rounds if they're able to get through here. So it's not really going to be that much of a treacherous kind of road. When people talk about, it's really hard to get to a Stanley Cup final, it's physically and mentally demanding. Sure, unless you're the Carolina Hurricanes this year. Kind of what your thoughts on the road they've taken thus far before we move on to the other teams, though.
Yeah, I'm going to put a poll up here, and I want everyone to be able to vote on it. We'll get that going here. Rest versus Rust. I did put this up on our Instagram page there, Nick. So I'm going to put this up here.
I got it.
Got it there? Can you put it up? I've saved it in there. The Rest versus Rust one, if you can throw that up in the right-hand bottom corner there. Again, I don't know how we could have determined with the Panthers, Nick, how they did in that 23 Stanley Cup final run. Can we go there? There we go.
I got it.
There we go. You guys vote on it. 1, 2, 3 there on the poll. I don't know how we can determine that 23 playoff run because the Panthers started to run out of gas and started to get injuries. How would that have looked though? Like, were you worried about the rust factor? I was.
So a little bit, because I think that team was kind of playing a bit with house monies. I don't think that was a team that was really coming in and was consistent. They were consistent in their style of game, right? But I think what made them very successful that year, I'm going to be honest, they went on a run. They went on a heater. I don't think that was one. That 2023 team was not the 2024 or 2025 team. And that's a very clear distinction. I think, the depth was a lot worse. The team was a lot worse. I mean, they were very much playing. I think they were down 3-1 to Boston, and then they rolled through. I think they won the games 5, 6, and 7. Then they won games 1, 2, and 3 versus Toronto. Obviously won game 5. That's what? They won 11-1. They won 11 out of 12 games. Like, they're probably playing almost every other night, you'd have to think, because Carolina also won in 5 games versus New Jersey that year. So there wasn't really a lot to wait for. So this might be a little bit different. I don't know the caliber of team they're getting. I'm with you that I think Montreal would probably be a little bit of a tougher matchup for them than Buffalo. I don't think either of us have been all that impressed with Buffalo.
Buffalo hasn't won in Carolina in 10 years, Nick.
10 years.
2016.
So for me, I don't look at this as a rust issue because, again, I think Carolina is so consistent in their style of game, and they're a really good hockey team. They've been doing it for a long time. if this were a team a little bit more on a heater, if this were like a Montreal, if this were somebody else. I'm not saying Montreal's only on a heater. I think they're a damn good hockey team, but I think being a veteran group, you're going to get the same game out of the Carolina Hurricanes no matter what. And again, they had a 5-6 day break last time, and everybody was like, oh, are they rust? Is there rust? And they came out and pumped the Flyers in game 1, right? So I think when you're a veteran team like that, when you know your style of game, you're consistent in it, you don't really have to worry about that as much. Whereas, some of these other teams, if you're waiting a while. I mean, I like the Panthers in 2023, who were not at that level yet. I know the Panthers beat Carolina in 2023, but I would say both franchises are better now than they were then. And, I think they'll end up being fine in short order.
So on this series, and if there's anything else you want to end on the Flyers, Cody said off air, there's not much that needs to be added. I know they had a lot of injuries. There's some internal bleeding from Pippett. There was some.
I think they overachieved. I mean, there's like no really ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't think it's the best thing for them long term. I've said that. I think it'll hinder the long-term plan. This is a team that could have used another top 5, top 10 draft pick this year. Been a little bit more patient, get something down the middle. I mean,
they might have something in Martone there.
Right? Again, Porter Martone, that's it. If you're going to get rid of Matvei Michkov, look to bring in a center, okay, maybe that's different. But again, now you're picking an 18th, 20th overall again, right? And what are you going to do next year if you end up around 83 points and miss the playoffs? Well, you kind of get into that same murky middle that you tried to get yourself out of the last couple of years. The real question is, do you think Philadelphia, number one, has a good enough roster in future, whether it be in their prospect pool or whatever it could be coming in, not including trades, because they can make trades. Obviously, it costs a pretty penny. And do you think Philadelphia is in a position over the next couple of seasons to build into a cup contender or to consistently make the playoffs? In my mind, the answer is no. And I think that's where Danny Briere took a big misstep here. I think they probably should have been like, okay, good. We saw a lot of fight through the first half of the season. Go and get Rasmus, trade away Rasmus Ristolainen. You probably need to go move off some other pieces, right? And they didn't do that. They stuck with it. Obviously, the emergence of Drysdale and Zegras are promising, but
Dan Vladar was big.
Vladar was good, but again, are you going to get that again from Dan Vladar? I don't know. Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras, they're good players, right? Like young players.
I think Dan Vladar is a coin flip starter, and that's not a disparage to him. I think that's almost a compliment.
Correct, especially when you consider how bad he was in Calgary, and I didn't even hate him in Calgary.
Well, Calgary, he was up and down. There was a year, 3 years ago, he was good. 2 years ago, he fell off. Then he started to recoup in Calgary a little bit last year, but then they had other goalies coming up like Devin Cooley.
I look at the team. I look at Zegras. I look at Drysdale, Cam York. Like, those are good players. But I'm looking at some of these other teams in the Eastern Conference. How's that going to be Carolina in the next 3-4 years? Like, how are you? They don't have as much talent as a Columbus or a Washington coming through, right?
Well, we'll see what Washington's going to be. Islanders, that could be back and forth with the Flyers. Pittsburgh, it just made it even more confounding and confusing of what their direction.
If there's one team that benefited less than the Flyers from making the playoffs, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, I think Flyers benefited a lot more than the Penguins. The Penguins could say for Crosby to get back in there. That was more for the NHL fan, Nick, than just the Penguin fan.
Well, yeah, I would say. But again,
they've seen the cups with Crosby.
And, I know he lost a gold medal. You won the Four Nations. Like, he's played important games, right? So it's not like he's gone.
It's still a spotlight player for the Penguins.
Yeah. And
but you do like to see playoff hockey.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. But I just think for the long term, Trevor Zegras is fine, but that's not a long-term solution down the middle. And now you have to pay him after a career year, and who the hell knows how that goes. Matvei Michkov, there's going to be questions there. I saw a report from Anthony DeMarco, I believe. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't want to wrongly cite somebody. I believe it was Anthony DeMarco saying that Matvei Michkov may not be as untouchable as he once was. Which, again, speaks a lot considering this guy, Kirby. I give you your guy in Montreal, Ivan Demidov. These guys were right up there in terms of hype coming into the league. I mean, they were like even, I would argue, right?
Yeah,
like
I understand
Michkov is highly touted. So, I mean, if you're going to get into this, game of, hey, you have a almost 30-year-old Travis Konechny. Jamie Drysdale and Cam York, fine. They're pretty good. Then you have Zegras, and then you have guys, like good players, and then you have a Porter Martone. I just don't see where the path is, especially if you're not getting – I think they could have benefited from another – like if they spent these next 2 years maybe selling off some pieces, acquiring some assets, getting 2 top 10 picks, in addition to Martone, and even if they wanted to re-sign Drysdale and Zegras, then you could have really had something.
It has been a bit of a long climb for the Flyers, though. Eventually, you have to come out of that stupor. Like, you could say that with Buffalo, with Philadelphia. You need to come out of that eventually.
Well, and I think
perpetually are in that fog.
But again, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, what a terrible job by Danny Briere of taking his team to the playoffs. I'm not going to say that. But you hire Rick Tocchet and you go on a heater for the last month and you get in when you were a sub 500 hockey team for most of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the trends. I'm just saying. So
yeah, I want to transition a little bit back to Carolina. Then I want to move on to the other Eastern Conference matchup that we're going to be live here tomorrow night, everyone, for Game 7. I'm looking forward to that. Nick, where are you with Die Hard on this that I've had up on the screen here in the last few minutes?
Well, I think it'll depend. I think if they end up playing Buffalo, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble, Buffalo. They're going to really find out a bit. I mean, if they're having trouble with Montreal, they should be through the neutral zone. I'm not saying Carolina brings that same style of attack, so I wonder how well suited they are to face the forecheck. But again, Carolina, similar to Florida, they come in waves. It's constant. It's like a team that plays so consistent with their style, with what they're told to do, with what their structure, how they're coached, and there's complete buy-in. And, there's a little bit more skill there this year, fine, right? But I think the only way, and, we've seen it because that's the evidence of the last 2 or 3 years, Kirby, the only way that a team who doesn't play that similar style can beat that team is with talent.
Yeah.
Okay? And the Panthers play the exact, very, very similar way. They just have more talent. You've seen the New York Rangers. They don't play the exact same way, but you have an Igor Shesterkin there saving your ass. And then you have Panarin and Zibanejad and Lafreniere and all these other guys stepping up, right?
I don't know if Carolina's going to be winning anything from Jose. He's worried about that. So am I, Jose. But I want them to be challenged in the Eastern Conference Final, which we're going to get into that other matchup. And the final, if it's Colorado, I think
if you get to a Buffalo, I think you'll face some talent. Absolutely. But I think Buffalo will deal with some troubles in that style of game because of how consistent Carolina is. And number 2, you see the goaltenders. How many times have they switched? They started with Alex Lyon, then they went to UPL, then they went back to Alex Lyon, and now they're back in UPL probably.
Yep.
I mean, they're a good hockey team. They have a lot of talent, but I think they've struggled immensely in this series against Montreal. They haven't really had any major pushback outside of Game 6. I know they won Game 4, but I watched the game. They didn't look spectacular. So I think Montreal at points, and Jakub Dobeš in particular, probably left a lot to be desired. I think they could have taken the series by the bull by the horns a little bit more. They didn't, is what it is.
Just one more minute for everyone to get your votes in. We'll throw this poll up again tomorrow, probably on Carolina here.
A team. So I think Buffalo, obviously some skill, some talent. I worry about the goaltending and some of the system and the stylistic matchups because we've seen Buffalo struggle in that. Montreal, I think they have a lot of talent. I think Dobeš could get exposed a little bit in this series. I think the guys like Matheson and Carrier maybe can get picked on, especially when they're in their own end. Kirby, we've seen how relentless Carolina's forecheck could be. I think, great talent for Montreal, but I think that top line, they're still young, right? So I think that's why I'm a little bit more hesitant on them. We've seen that top line in particular go a little bit dry at times. Haven't been able to produce the way were able to in the regular season. The depth's been all right. It's actually very good to all right to very good. But I think when you measure the style of play, the fact that the depth probably isn't as good as Montreal would want it to be against a team like Carolina, that middle pair, the fact that the top line's gone a little awry at times, and I think this would probably be the best the least, how do I say this? this would be the best situation for them to face this Jakub Dobeš. It's better than the Bobrovskis. It's better than the Shesterkins. It's better than the Vasilevskis they faced in the past, right? The Tuukka Rask, right? This is the best goaltending situation they would face. So I think Carolina very consistent in their game and their approach and how they attack. I think the inexperience by Montreal and some of the other deficiencies there will get exposed a little bit. I think Buffalo, if they've been able to expose it to certain extents, I think Carolina will be able to jump on that opportunity. But I don't think it'll be easy. I could still see it being a 5-6 game series and 2-3 of those games being really close.
Yeah, I think you might see Carolina finally fall victim in one game here ahead, where they've been undefeated here, and they've been very comfortable going into conference finals, being at 8-3, 8-2, I believe.
Last year they were 8-2.
Right? Yeah, so they've come in with a really high winning percentage. I know the 0 is staring at everyone in history and all that, but I think early on, you're going to get tested. More so, I think, for Montreal than Buffalo, but I think both teams are capable of punching Carolina in the mouth. I just like Montreal's resiliency. We'll see it here tomorrow night in Game 7, Nick. I'm still going to ride with the Habs here. But their resiliency after losses, how they've been able to win on the road, and Jakub Dobeš, how he's able to come back and win games after a loss.
Yeah,
so
I just worry about
a great loss. But
I worry about some of the puck management things from some of those prominent, like Carrier and Matheson. I worry about how they're going to fare against Carolina's forecheck. I worry a bit about what if that top line does dry up in scoring. Well, I'm going to be honest. I think if the same trends continue for Montreal against Carolina as it's been against Buffalo and somewhat against Tampa, there'll be more. Carolina will expose that more than I think Tampa and Buffalo were able to. And you have to give Carolina the respect. Now, again, I understand the narrative of, the Eastern Conference Final. I don't really buy that as much as, the teams they've lost to, they've been pretty good teams, right? I mean, and they haven't been like, last year was not even close. But, I mean, I look at multiple different years, particularly the Boston year. That was Curtis McElhaney in net, and I think Peter Mrazek. That wasn't really a year they were supposed to be there, Kurt. That was Rod Brindamore's first year as coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, and they well exceeded expectations. They upset the Washington Capitals in round 1 that year. Then they swept Barry Trotz, who was also in his first year with a new team, the New York Islanders. They swept them, and obviously we know they got swept by Boston. Eventually lost to Jordan Binnington in St. Louis. But looking at Carolina, I understand the narrative this year because they haven't really faced anybody. But I don't want to penalize them for that because you can only play who's on the schedule. And they were given Ottawa because they earned that distinction in the regular season of the top.
I was listening to preview shows earlier today, Nick, from TSN that I hadn't watched, and a lot of people are picking Ottawa. Our guy Ryan picked them going a conference final run. Some people said dark horse for a cup run. So
right.
People were discounting Carolina from
regardless of what you think. Carolina, they play who they play, and they took care of business every single time. And I mean, a couple close games in the Ottawa series, fine, but you watch, I would say 95% of the 2 series, Carolina has overwhelmingly been the better team. So they've showed up. They've done what they needed to do. Yes, they beat who they beat, but that's on their schedule. And when you have a regular season like that and you're in that division, well, they knew. And again, you want to bitch about, they played Philly and Pittsburgh made it. Well, then maybe teams like Columbus and Washington should have stepped up this year.
Yeah, they should have stepped up. They also played excellent against the opponents that were in front of them. Edmonton had the pillow fight in the Pacific, and they can't even get through Anaheim.
Right.
We're going to talk
about right now.
And Minnesota here, kind of, if you want to transition.
The dream is dead, Kirby. I'm sorry.
Your dream is dead, Nick. My vision is still alive for Montreal. Your dream is dead for Minnesota. But anything to touch on Minnesota or Anaheim? Anaheim, some serious injuries coming out of here. I don't know if you have it in our chat there. You want to share it? Gauthier suffering injured to his neck. A couple vertebrae in his neck, I believe, or back. Very serious there. Gudas was still injured from his ankle or foot there from that Toronto game, but it predated back before that. And he was talking about an injury he faced many years ago in the playoffs. I don't know if that was with Florida. It had to be with Florida.
Well, I mean,
in 23, the final. So he was saying there because he hasn't been in
the high ankle sprain. Remember?
right? Okay. Was that the Barbashev hit or whatever that he took?
Yeah, the ankle injury.
Yeah, and he
It's
had it
still
earlier
lingering.
that too.
So that's a high ankle sprain from a couple of years ago, and it's lingered with him ever since.
Yeah, so he came out and said that. So they had their closing meetings. There was some stuff Joe Quenneville said too, but wherever you want to go with Nick there, Anaheim or Minnesota as
well, I'll start here with Anaheim here, and I'm looking to find the L1 vertebrae thing from Cutter Gauthier. Here it is. Okay. Share my screen. So Cutter Gauthier said that he broke an L1 and L2 vertebrae in his back in March, in that March 30th game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So again, Cutter Gauthier obviously injured here. Had a lot of other injuries, but I'll say this:
that was the Gudis Matthew rematch.
Getting to the playoffs was a success. If they would have lost to Edmonton in 6, it would have been a success. You win a round against Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, and you lose it. Like, again, you got 12 playoff games for a team that hasn't been, I mean, just a brilliant year. I think they took a really interesting approach by adding those veterans over the last couple of years. Trouba, they've added Chris Kreider, they've added Mikhail Granlund. Racco Gudis obviously already being there at the deadline. They had a John Carlson, which, by the way, you see a lot of teams, young teams, they don't really want to trade a first-round pick. They don't want to go. I think trading a first-round pick, showing the group that you wanted to commit to them, getting John Carlson, a damn good player, to go on the right side, and it ended up working out very beneficially for them. Great job by Bat Verbeek, who was coming into the season on the hot seat, was basically like, you make the playoffs or you're fired. And he did that. And he was aggressive throughout free agency last year. He was aggressive at the deadline, bringing in John Carlson. And the mix of veterans, particularly the right side was all veterans. The left side of the defense was all young guys. The young guys starting to flourish with Gauthier, Seneca, Carlson, Lacombe. And then you kind of balance it out with the Granlund, Kreider. Trouba's played really well. I've just raved about the Carlson edition. Incredible year for Anaheim. There's nothing negative to be said about them. They're going to be very good for a very long time. It's going to be San Jose and Anaheim and probably maybe a couple different additions, but Utah is going to be in there too. That's going to be the Western Conference for the next foreseeable future, right? So hell of a job by Joe Quenneville and Pat Verbeek this season, getting them back to the playoffs.
How about that Granlund signing that was on the second or third day of free agency where everyone's like, what's Anaheim doing here? Well, they end up making
unreal. And the one thing I will say, and you're going to have to monitor next year, a guy whose first year could not be more different than his second year. Lucas Dostal had an awful, terrible year, awful, terrible playoffs. And this is a guy that was considered the future in Anaheim. They traded John Gibson. Obviously,
top 5 most minutes played. I think this year he's played a lot of hockey, right? So they're putting that on him, but he still has to be able to rebound and come into form.
But now you're looking at him like, okay, well, let's see if he'll bounce back. It's not a worry. But if he doesn't, if he struggles next year, well, then they're going to have to take a look at some things. But I think Anaheim at this point, they've had their playoff experience. They're going to have to sign the new guys. But Anaheim's in contention mode right now. It's done.
Yep. I agree. We got
they're buyers every deadline. They're going to be aggressive free agency. They should be in on these big guys on the trade market.
They have tried. They've tried with Stamkos and other guys. They weren't able.
And they've been a little bit. They were in on Panarin. They were a little bit hesitant to get in on him more because they need to sign these guys. I think once you see these big guys signed, and the one thing about the changing cap era and having players, young talent in these changing cap eras is you have all these other guys who are maybe 25, 26, who are 4 or 5 years left on their deal, and they're only around 8, 9 million. Well, these new guys, they're going to get their new deals, whether it be 3, 4, 5 years, and it's going to be 11, 12 million. So as good as these teams are, that having a up-and-coming team at this point in the cap era actually might be a little bit of a pain in the ass to deal with if you want some of these GMs. So it's something they're going to have to navigate. Obviously, like the contending teams, they had to deal with the flat cap era, Kirby, in the last 5 years, right? Well, now these up-and-coming
talking about a bit here, Toronto.
Correct. And now some of these up-and-coming teams are going to have to deal with the rising cap and player market skyrocketing. So both teams pay the price. Obviously, the contenders played the price the last 5 years, whereas now it's more of these younger up-and-coming teams. But they'll be in on all these players. They should operate as a contender. And if they're able to get all these guys signed, they'll have money to work with throughout. So it'll be
Question
interesting
from
to see.
Antonio. You want to take this one here, Nick?
Devils. Not Devils, Ducks.
Psych out, psych.
No.
I'm not big on the Devils core guys. I'm not the biggest Heischer Hughes guy. I like Bratt. But again, what do you have on the blue line? Like,
and here's the thing: it's like that blue line.
You got Luke Hughes, you got Nemec. But what are they doing with Nemec?
I think Luke Hughes. I don't want to sit here and declare anything, but I mean,
you're not putting him in the Lacombe category.
Like, what is he? A top 4 defenseman in the NHL? Like 45.
They need more than that, Nick. They need him to be
correct.
A top 2
they need like a 70-point top pair guy. That's what you draft a guy 4th overall to do. And if he's going to be a 45, 50-point, 22-minute guy, yes, that's very good. That's a guy you take 8th, 9th, 10th overall. Not a guy you take 4th overall. And obviously the question remains, particularly with New Jersey, the Hughes brothers in the situation. One of the Hughes brothers, another team that got eliminated, Quinn Hughes and the Minnesota Wild, lost to the Colorado Avalanche in 5 games. They blew a 3-1 lead with 5 minutes to go, and they lost in overtime. And now many different postmortems and what to do's and what ifs and decisions to be made from the Minnesota Wild.
But do they get much heat here? It was Colorado.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And I know they offered Danila Yurov and Jesper Wasa, which is a very good offer.
You can pull that up in a second.
And I will pull that up right now. So give me a minute here.
Just to give everyone a look at it.
Give everybody a look at it here.
Antonio, I don't know if the Ducks are going to be player for Hellebuyck. We're going to talk about him quite a bit here, obviously, moving forward. Again, I don't know if he's going to be dealt. But I think the Sabres are a team that's going to be in on goal.
I don't know why Cody's doing Statue of Liberty unless he knows something. Does Cody want to share something with us?
Oh, is he giving something there in the chat? I don't know. I talked to him today. He didn't give me any insight.
Okay, well, unless Cody spoke to somebody, we don't know what that means.
Cody's dealing with power issues, and he's kind of tired tonight.
So, Cody, if you want to share any information with us, just text us. Phone's right here. Anyway, but you'll see here Minnesota Wild went after Robert Thomas and offered up Danilo Yurov and Jesper Wallstedt at the deadline. I think this is a good, aggressive offer by Bill Guerin. But I'll tell you this. Under no circumstances should he have allowed this deadline to go by and not get a center. And I said it on our live stream show. I said it last year with the Winnipeg Jets. I'm like, this is not good.
That was the next W last year with Winnipeg. This year, I was on the Minnesota one.
And I was so confident. Okay, we're gonna talk about that later. He's signaling Igor. Anyway,
but he's talked about Igor before. What is he saying? He's heard stuff.
No, we're gonna find out. I'm sure.
Wait, is he trying to stir the pot here?
Yeah. Well, of course he does that. Anyway.
Is Jim gonna bounce in the chat next and say something?
He's like, yo. Jim
stuff in a bit here. Jim,
yeah, we'll get the. We'll talk about that later. But, I think it was absolute malpractice. I said it last year with Winnipeg, and I felt the same exact way. I'm like, this is a team. I even like their depth pickups. They could absolutely win the Stanley Cup if they added a number 2 center. And last year, they allowed the Winnipeg Jets, the Brock Nelson sweepstakes to go to Colorado. This year, the Minnesota Wild not only allowed, okay, he is hearing something. Okay. They allowed
Cody's become me with all these emojis here. What's going on?
They allowed Nick Waugh, Nazem Kadri, their money to go to the Colorado Avalanche. And again, I'm not saying that, yes, they tried. But Kirby, this was their year, I felt. I mean, they went out and got Quinn Hughes.
It wasn't go for broke, but they went to get Quinn Hughes to indicate they were going for it.
Correct, but Kirby, they never replaced Marco Rossi, and I don't know what I would have if you needed to include Danila Yurov in the trade to go get Vincent Trocheck.
You're going to blame them on that, though. They had to make a big move, a big deal to move pieces out. You got to give them time to replenish those pieces that they moved out because they went to go get Quinn Hughes.
I just think it's malpractice that they didn't add a number 2 center.
Yes.
And here's the thing. Joel Eriksson-Ek didn't play in round 2.
Well, he got hurt.
Came back to bite them in the ass. And I agree.
They had another injury there, too.
If Nazem Kadri didn't want to go to Minnesota, fine. But I think they could have outbid Kadri. Could have outbid Colorado for Kadri. So
Colorado didn't even know they were getting Kadri till the last hour when they went to get Nikolai Wall.
correct. That was a last minute thing. Now, again, could Minnesota have jumped out? Like, what are you doing? Okay. New York shopping Igor Shesterkin is what he's trying to say. Okay.
Are you seeing anything out there? I haven't checked
I haven't checked anything. I'm figure it out another day. Look at Joel Eriksson Ek, Nazem Kadri, Ryan Hartman, Michael McCarron down the middle. I mean, I think at that point, you're like, okay, like this is a team that can go on a run there. And look, were they injured? Yes. I think Jesper Wallstedt, I know he had a rough second round, but he was, I think, excellent throughout the playoffs for them. I think he's the future in there.
I just want to jump in with your boy. I don't know long-term solution Kadri is for anyone. He's starting to get up there. I'm saying short to midterm. He's a
now. They're going to have to now. If they circle back on Robert Thomas and are able to get a deal done, Danila Yurov, Jesper Wallstedt, Charlie Stramel, next year's first. If they want to put that package together,
but Kadri fits a team like Minnesota. You could debate Montreal. I know that now is more open.
But again, Kirby Doc's the one that's skyrocketed this playoffs. But anyway,
if Montreal would have listened to me on Line
I think the Minnesota Wild. I think the Minnesota Wild in particular, it was malpractice to not get a center. They needed one, and I think they blew a golden opportunity here. And look, they're going to have decisions to make. The Quinn Hughes thing's out there. There's a lot of heat on the Kirill Kaprizov signing, which I think is a load of bullshit. Oh, it's a team Minnesota was a very good team.
Well, what is your grade on Kaprizov?
I think he's fine. Look, when you don't give him a center, right? When it's Ryan Hartman against Nathan McKinnon, there's only so much Kirill Kaprizov can do.
Well, right? The Ack injury hurts him. Me and Ryan were big on that.
The people are going to shit on the $17 million. And I know they're not shitting on Kaprizov, the player, more the number. That's the new NHL. That's going to be the new NHL.
Well, I think it's fair to shit on it a bit, but it's also Minnesota, a market where you have to keep your stars. The last one they had was like a Marian Gaborik, up front.
And Kirill Kaprizov, I like Marian Gaborik a lot. 10 times player Marian Gaborik is. I mean, incredible players. So I think there's going to be a lot of decisions to make. I think the Quinn Hughes thing's going to end up working itself out. The one thing, and we talked about it a lot, what do they do in net? The Philip Gustafson, he expressed a lot of displeasure with how the situation was handled, saying, I think he made a comment saying, I don't know, when he asked the guy who's playing, seemed to be very upset that he was benched for game one and throughout the first round of the playoffs. Jesper Wallstedt was excellent in round one, struggled in round two, but as did everybody in Minnesota. Who does Minnesota choose, Kirby? What do they do? Who do they trade? What do they trade him for? I mean,
some Minnesota fans saying they don't have to trade anyone in net right now.
Oh, you think they can hold on? I don't think that makes sense.
Know. That's what some of the fans are saying.
If I'm you, if they feel confident enough in Gustafson and they want to go get Robert Thomas, I think Yurov, Wallstedt, Charlie Stramel, and a first-round pick could get it done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm wondering what St. Louis wants to do by moving Thomas out and not running with Joel Hofer. Like, that situation. Does that make Hofer more available? If I'm Florida, if I'm Zito, I'm calling on Hofer.
Well, no. Then, we don't get a freaking Wallstedt, but we do get Hofer. So
decent consolation prize there. I don't know if I put Hofer in the Jacob Fowler Wallstedt camp, but I think he could be a pretty darn good goalie and potential solid starting goalie.
I think 8 to 10 range, maybe.
Yeah, if he really hits, that would be great. And I think if Florida,
50 game plus starter.
If he's top 10 to 15, you're still all right.
Now, again, if they trade Philip Gustafson, the return's not going to be as, you're not really going to get as much as you'd like. Now, I think you could get a second line center for Philip Gustafson, right? It depends on what. Is there three? I don't know. Are you allowed to make three-way trades?
Why wouldn't you be?
I don't know what the new CBA.
With the new CBA you're saying or something?
Yeah, I don't know what the new CBA. If it's possible, I could see like a team that needs a goaltender goes to like Gustafson to a third team, Trocheck to Minnesota, and then like picks and prospects to New York.
Okay. Yeah.
Like something like that.
And I think more 3-team trades, if you can facilitate those, and they are allowed, you can facilitate more now with the increased cap going up, not just this summer, but future summers here.
Right. But enough of talking about this situation. We have a Western Conference final to discuss too. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to be taking on the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah. Well, we're going to give our pick there a little bit later to close.
We will.
You want to say that? We're going to go.
Quick thoughts before we go to break on this series.
I haven't been high on Vegas. Vegas has been my miss here all year. I still wonder what's happening in net with the Carter Hart thing, Aiden Hill, and Hart's numbers, as you guys see at the bottom of the screen, I'll put up. They've really increased here, save percentage wise in the series, and he started to make some saves. But I've also seen him make some leaky ones get by him, and I'm like, you have to be completely on your game if you're playing Colorado. Like, Colorado can put 4 on you in a period, and I just don't believe in the Vegas defense like I used to. And I think Colorado, even with what they're dealing with Makar, like, I really think Nathan McKinnon's on a mission, and they're getting like depth scoring, the Parker Kellys of the world. Like, they're getting Brett Kulak, big goal to win the series there the other night. I think Colorado probably in potentially 4, but likely 5.
I don't all that much disagree with it. I mean, can Carter Hart steal a game, and then can Vegas get off on like a power play to make it 5 or 6 games? I can
do that early in the series in Colorado.
Yeah, like, I could see a situation like where they steal a game or 2 because of a goaltending performance, and then like a bad game from Colorado's goaltenders, right?
Okay, but they're fine flipping their guys back.
I think it's. I'll give you my prediction later. I've said that Vegas has been the most overhated, underrated and overhated team in this playoffs. I picked them in both rounds against Utah and against Anaheim, both in 6 games, by the way. I think down the stretch, personally, I think some of the games, they have those intangibles. They find ways to win. I think they can maybe find a way to win a game or 2. I don't know if I'm going to be predicting that. I just wouldn't be shocked. But in my eyes, and this may be a hot take, if they keep Bruce Cassidy, I am not entirely sure they're not here anyway. Like, you look at when they hired,
they needed the change,
like,
for energy.
Okay, you need the change, and then Tortorella comes in and wins 7 out of 8. Well, you played Calgary, Seattle, Vancouver. Like, I think 5 or 6 of your games are against Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle. Like, I'm sorry, but where's the? And then you go and play Utah and Anaheim in first and second round. Like, Kirby, they haven't really.
That's the thing. Like, I'll put it on the screen here. Mitch Marner leading the NHL playoffs in scoring. What does he do next round? And you got to give him credit.
Eichel's number 2.
He's done. But where does it, like? Does he completely get shut down, or does he continue to play well even if the team doesn't? Right? Like, Jack Eichel, that's the key cog there of everything.
Right.
Of how they operate and how they have to match up against Colorado.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think the timing of the move and the path ahead created a situation to where, like, it was a very easy path, I'll say it like that, and it makes John Tortorella seem like he's done a better job than maybe he
Yes,
really
and my question is, Nick,
and I'm going to be honest with you, I picked Vegas.
Vegas versus how hungry Colorado is to get.
I picked Vegas. I saw the Carter Hart situation developing at the end of the year where he took the job over from Schmid and Aiden Hill. Even though I picked Vegas and I've complimented them, I still really haven't loved their game. I haven't. But I think they're a veteran team. They found ways to win. Some of their players are playing really well. They found a solution for the short term, at least in net. I think they figured some things out
to win, especially early in the playoffs.
I think they figured some things out, but I think it's still I think it's poor roster construction. I don't think it's a very good roster.
I don't
like their team.
And hey, they're doing a heck of a job. I'm not trying to put them down, but I still think they're one of the teams left standing right now that lack identity.
Yeah, I would say that too.
And I'm an identity guy. You know that. I'm like, I don't really know what they're trying to do. I know what Tampa was doing. You guys can argue, oh, Tampa might be over the hill. I still know what they're trying to do to a degree. I don't really know what Vegas is doing now with this makeshift new blue line. Certain guys up front that have
on the back end and Korczak.
Right?
Like, they have Dylan Coughlin and Ben Hutton and Caden Korczak rotating in and out. I mean, it's Kirby, I'm going to be honest with you. I just think they figured some things out. There were 4 or 5 things, players, structure, goaltending, that have been better since Tortorella came in. Partially, I think, because of the bit easier schedule, and it's taken them this far, and I think they're going to get exposed. Can I see the intangible thing coming through a bit more in this round? Yeah, I think I would agree with it could potentially be a 5 or 6 game series. Kirby, I wouldn't be shocked if it's 4 games, though. I don't really think. I mean, I don't see Vegas winning this series. I'll say that. The amount of games it takes.
Diehard says he sees a good series. I don't even know if I see a good series, Diehard. But
no, I think the games should be very volatile. Like, I think it could be Avs in 6, but freaking 4 of the Avs wins are like 5-0, 2 like 4-1, 3-0. Like, they aren't close.
Okay, yeah.
And then like one of them's a wild overtime game.
Yeah, it's not the same like you're seeing with Buffalo and Montreal, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. You know, it's like back and forth. Not necessarily the case with this one, right?
But anyway, while we do take a break here, we're going to talk about many other topics. Let's hear a word from our sponsor, CanesWare.
Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? CanesWare in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. CanesWare has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or at pantherswear.com. Again, that's pantherswear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
And a word from another one of our sponsors, Jeremy Beckham. Champions don't settle, and neither should you. Let me introduce Jeremy Beckham at Beck Sells FLA, bringing a competitive edge to South Florida luxury real estate. If you want a home that performs in all 3 zones, location, lifestyle, and long-term value, Jeremy is your power play. The clock's ticking. Let's go for the cup. Reach out now at becksellsfla.com. And as always, if you wish to subscribe to the channel, please do. Any and all support is appreciated. If you wish to subscribe to our channel, like the video, comment, please do. Want to purchase?
Yeah, put your comments in the chat on the next round, on how you did in the second round. Any questions?
Purchase a super chat donation, buy your own membership, upgrade your own membership, gift a membership. If you want to have access to the great perks that being a member provides, you will be able to find out the information on those perks by going to our YouTube homepage to find out the information on the bronze, silver, and gold medal memberships, as well as how to be able to buy your own membership, gift one, etc. And as a matter of fact, one of the perks of being a gold member is you have a chance to win this Anton Lundell signed wall-sized frame photo, courtesy of Palm Beach Autographs. We just gave away the Aaron Ekblad wall-sized frame photo, courtesy also.
Panthers fans, Den.
Congratulations to them, courtesy of Palm Beach Autographs. As well, we really do appreciate them. These are some of our best giveaways we've done. So this is an Anton Lundell one. We will be announcing the winner soon. So make sure to get signed up and become a member, and you'll have a chance to win.
Yeah, we'll put that on the screen there, Nick. Make sure you guys are on desktop version. So if you have had a hard time finding where your membership is or extending membership, all that stuff, you'll be able to find it there on the homepage. Just make sure you're on desktop version there. I'll leave that.
So now we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit here. Just talked a lot about the playoffs. Probably more interesting than the playoffs this week have been what's happened in some Canadian markets. One made the playoffs, one didn't.
We've been talking about Toronto so much, Nick, and Vancouver, and then they just want to come back in the news cycle about 2 weeks later.
Well, they'll always find their way back in the news cycle. Reminds me of our Cowboys. The Toronto Maple Leafs have fired Craig Berube after 2 seasons. Berube went 84, 62, and 18. In his first season, Craig Berube won the Atlantic Division and won a round versus the Ottawa Senators in 6 games, took the Florida Panthers to Game 7 this year with the departure of Mitch Marner. Multiple players significantly regressed, including Anthony Stolarz, multiple defensemen, Morgan Riley, as well as Jake McCabe, Christina Simone Benoit, William Nylander, and Austin Matthews had a rough go of it with injuries and whatnot. Matthew Nyes never really got going. John Tavares, another year older. They never found a number 2 center. And that bottom 6 makeup they did last offseason, which Brad Treliving, which, by the way, the head coach GM duo, Toronto is completely new this year. Whoever it will be, we'll talk about Shaika in a minute.
By the way, you mentioned all the players. I want to throw this in. You just made me think of it. Matthew Knies was reported from Chris Johnson. Some people are going back and forth with Chris Johnson, saying he's lost a step or two on his fastball. But he reported this week there was 6 pieces involved on a trade for Matthew Knies.
Well, we've heard different things regarding that publicly, and wonder who could have been on Matthew Knies. Obviously, I know Chicago.
Montreal was in on him.
Montreal was in. That's what I was referring to. You know, the head coach GM duo is now gone. The Mitch Marner thing, I know people are going to say, yes, it definitely impacted them this year, right? The regular season, they missed that scoring. The bottom 6 with Dakota Joshua, with another season of Steven Lorentz, Nicolas Waugh, excuse me, didn't work out. And, you know, there were a lot of complaints about the way Craig Berube deployed certain guys in certain lines, about Max Domi being up on the top line.
They brought in Michelli, but that was a general manager move as well.
Correct. Matthias Michelli. There's been talk about Easton Cowan. There was the whole discussion about the response to the Austin Matthews injury, the play on Morgan Riley, how everything fell apart after Chris Tanev went down. And the most hot button issue, and this is probably contributing to some of the trade rumors you'll hear over the next year or two, the way he deployed Austin Matthews. And I've heard a lot, Kirby, and we've talked
But he wanted to, I heard it all, but he wanted to change the culture to make him a 200-foot player. Now they're going back against that.
Well, you know, and I think Austin Matthews did a pretty damn good job of it. Yeah. I mean, look, say what you want.
He didn't fail. I don't think he did well enough because his goal output dropped. He's dealing with a lot of injuries as well.
I think that's the other point. I think the GM didn't help out Berube, and I think this year there were many times where I think they have to figure it out. They're going to figure it out, and they never did. I think you take a look. I think Craig Berube is a damn good hockey coach. Usually you see a lot of guys, older guys like that. I'll give you an example. Peter Laviolette. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Where people see these older coaches get a job, and then if they don't work out there, and that's it. I don't think that's the case with Craig.
Daryl Sutter, I guess.
Daryl Sutter would be the one I'm mentioning. Peter Laviolette, if he's not able to get another job, we'll talk about that later.
Dyer's question here. I think Jay Woodcroft would be a good option. Former Edmonton Oilers coach that got shafted.
I know this is going to seem weird. I think Chris Knobloch would be a good option for them.
Okay.
I mean,
does he want to go back in that fishbowl market where he was in Edmonton?
And here's the thing.
Right,
I understand they tried to go the more traditional route. Oh, let's try to beat Florida. But I feel they fall so flat on their face that they're not doing this to improve. They're doing this to just get back to the playoffs. So I think they're eventually going to run into some of these same playoff issues again.
Yeah.
Just because
they want to get to the playoffs. It's
like, here's the thing. I think over the Dubas era, they took steps forward. And then I think the last year with Berube, they took that next step. And just because you take 5 steps back doesn't mean getting back to where you were before last season means you improved.
You're saying Knobloch would be a better option than Manny Malhotra, who would be better maybe with Vancouver or a younger.
Well, I think Manny Malhotra would do a little bit better in a team that's situation is more suited for a first-time coach.
Not so much pressure.
Not so much Toronto.
No.
Which, hey, I guess if you're the 26-year-old GM of a franchise that no longer exists, that means you get the biggest hockey job in the world next.
But you're saying Knobloch can handle that because he dealt with it in Edmonton, but does he want to deal with that again?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Knobloch, I'm not ruling out taking the year. Again, I think there's some really going to be really interesting openings next year.
I don't know everything about Chaika, but I think Chaika would like Knobloch because he's more new school thought, you know.
Yeah, I think the route at Toronto will go here. I think a Woodcroft or a Knobloch would help. I do think this is just kind of a return to the Keith Dubas kind of blueprint just to get them back on track. But again, once they're back on track, if they get there, they're going to need to find a way to come through. They can't just go back to what they were. They have to be able to find a better. Brandon Carlo's another guy. Let's say it's fucking terrible.
The trade.
He was so bad. I mean, that's another thing. Just everything went wrong for the Leafs until it didn't a couple weeks ago. I think the thing with Berube is a damn good hockey coach. Maybe the wrong kind of combination.
Thank you there, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
It will not be the first overall pick. It will be the number 9, but we could trade up. We're going to be speaking on that more with our guest from McKean's Hockey next Sunday. He's scheduled to drop by. I think 3 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live for that. I think the Panthers could trade up a spot or two to get that stud defense.
I think they could trade up a little bit more. Anyway, 5. Anyway, because I think I can see a certain team trading down twice. Anyway, back to Berube. I think last year they took a really big step. This year, I think the combination with the general manager, Brad Treliving, didn't work out the way it needed to, obviously. It's a really weird situation here because I think this is more. I don't think Berube really had an effect on why the Maple Leafs kind of fell apart here. I think the roster construction and the injuries and some other things, fell to them, and they were able to battle through for a majority of the season. They came out of the
goaltending came crashing to earth with the
I think out of the Olympic break, I mean, they were so uninspired. I mean, it was a joke.
He was trying to motivate them 2-3 different times this year, and it just didn't work.
So I think I'll go to another team. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about the Edmonton Oilers in a second here. But Kirby, kind of your thoughts on the Berube tenure? What's next for Toronto? And where do they both go from here?
I wanted to say this tonight here, and you get on me back in Montreal all year.
Yeah,
I was backing Toronto because of Berube last year. And I thought their potential was to get to a conference final against Carolina and maybe beat them. They were one game away from that. I know what happened to them, but you have to look at Mitch Marner. You have to look at Austin Matthews. You have to look at Morgan Riley. You have to even look at John Tavares that doesn't have his fastball anymore. You have to look at the core guys that were there well before Berube was. And wasn't Berube part of the team to get that structure in place where the goalie could make the save, where the defense was good in their own zone? But then a year later, they're not. But then that's turned, well, he's not an analytics.
Antonio, I think that would be an incredible move for you guys. I think that would be the right man hand. I think Matthew Nyes can be, if he's not a point per game guy, he's a 70, 75 point guy, net front presence, perfect guy to put with the Bedard. He's going to have a letter on it, on his jersey. I mean, I think it would be a part
of your almost a steal out of Toronto. And Toronto would want a defenseman or something probably.
So maybe a Korchinski and a first. I don't know. But I would evaluate options there. You guys got a lot of forwards. I think adding Nyes to the picture. Not photo, geez.
But if the Leafs are trying to win, I don't understand how Matthew Nyes doesn't fit in their picture.
I don't know what they're trying to do. And I know there's been talk, are they going to make the trade with the first overall pick? I don't see how they can do it. For the PR alone, I don't think they could survive it. I think John Chaika caught a break with this first overall pick. I think it would be idiotic on his part, particularly from a PR standpoint. I don't think from a hockey ops standpoint it'll be all that much of a bad decision. I don't know what you do here. I think they're really kind of in a
what I want to say, Nick,
weird situation.
Anything is in play. Chaika is a new GM coming in here. These are not guys he drafted. We've seen that with Bill Zito of Florida. So anything is possible this summer. He don't want certain guys there, and they want to make a direction. But I wonder how big of a shift they want to make when Keith Pelly has come out and said, president of MLSE, saying like it's a retool on the fly. It's not a rebuild here. Because Nylander wants out if it's a rebuild.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to make some decisions on William Nylander too.
Right? Because he's putting the screws to them on that. And they don't know what Matthews even wants at this point. And you know what they're doing to him again? They're placating to him, and they're going to fly and going to go see him here, I think this week sometime. Right.
Also of note, there were some more departures outside of Shane Doan, Brandon Pridham, and Derek Clancy. Most notably, Brandon Pridham, no disrespect to Mr. Clancy, will be mutually parting ways with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Brandon Pridham got Kirby is a guy that you said should get strong consideration for the job. There are reports coming out that he felt disrespected and he was not treated fairly throughout the process.
He was my lead guy with Mark.
A capologist, again, Toronto Maple Leafs had some very good teams, were cap compliant. They found some value there. I'm not automatically drawing the Panther thing because we need a new capologist, but I don't imagine Brandon Pridham would be out of work for very long. Right now, I think his services will be
9 years in Toronto, I think, and he got promoted when he was there.
12.
12 okay,
years.
9 in one position, 3 in the other, I believe. Okay.
Say that again?
I think maybe it was 9 in the current position he was in, 3 in the other position when he came in.
Right. This is a really interesting kind of front office makeup. I think they had some really talented people in the building. Shane Doan and Brandon Pridham being two of them, and now they're both gone. And, I think says a little bit about the Toronto Maple Leafs and the way they operated here when, obviously Shane Doan, there's a connection in Arizona with John Shaika and Brandon Pridham, who's been there for over a decade, Kirby. I don't really know how much is true necessarily regarding the reports that he felt disrespected. Obviously, that's something maybe you'll find out a little bit later. But what do you think, Brandon Pridham? What do you think what's next for him? Do you think he could be considered for some GM jobs that are still out there? I know Nashville's still looking for a GM. I think they're the only one, correct?
I think so at this point. You are right on that.
Okay.
I don't think – I really think that this is good if Pridham came out and said he was disrespected, because a lot of people have made this perception, and we even had Zach Phillips on from Leafs Nation that told us he doesn't know if he wants to be a general manager or be an elevated position. So if he came out today and said he's been disrespected and he wanted this –
Well, I don't know. He did not say that.
He did not?
I think there was a report that came out.
I want to know if this report is true, because if it is, that shows me a lot about him and that the Leafs might have botched this one. Now, he has been with the Leafs front office for a while. He's part of the no winning situation, or, not meeting expectations. But I think as a capologist guy or assistant GM guy, I think he'd be a perfect option. I think Florida could look at him. I don't know if he is looking for a general manager job, though.
No, if he's not, again, now that's the weird thing, is because usually you think, oh, you're leaving it. And this was a very successful period, 12 years in Toronto. I think people would look at the job he did and say, well, this is a guy that probably should be viewed as a GM level guy. It's kind of weird. It's not a traditional situation. If he doesn't want to be a GM, Curb, well, if you leave being on the precipice of being the GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs to, let me go be an assistant GM and a capologist for some random, I don't want to discount Sunbelt teams, but an assistant GM for Nashville. And I know Florida's been great, but the market is so different. So is that something he's interested in, or is he looking for a bigger market? Is he looking for a Montreal? Is he looking for a New York Rangers? Is he looking for one of the other Canadian jobs? Good
point here on here, how he got them out of this COVID kind of pickle, I guess you'd call it. This has been reported a lot today, how good of a job he did there. So he's getting some good press here.
Yeah, I think a lot. I think everybody did, though. And, you could argue they were consistently better than most teams in the flat cap era. Particularly, I know they didn't translate to playoff success. Those are some other things. He didn't make the personnel decisions, so to speak, as much as he did making the cap work with everything. But, and I'll say this, I look at some of these
I think he's referring to Matthews there.
Yeah, I think you take a look at the Florida Panthers throughout the 5-year flat cap era. There's some rosters there that were not that great. I mean, the Mark Stahls, the $5 million deal with Hornquist, some of the other stuff that didn't work itself. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I know they found a way to make the playoffs, but they've lost a lot of pieces and haven't really been able to replace them. I mean, you take a look at Toronto. I mean, they had chances. Like I look at this era in Toronto as such a wasted time. It was a waste, because I think there were 2 or 3 separate years, Kirby, where you could have made a legit case. Like, there's no excuse for them not to make conference final, cup final, if not win it.
Yeah. Yeah, people laugh at them because they're the Leafs, but they were in the consideration in the running for those spots. I yelled at people last year in our postgame show during the regular season. They're like, Curry, how could you have them in the conference final against Carolina? I'm like, that's how good they are right now. What Berube did, coming into Toronto, I'm like, this is his potential here. This is a cup-winning coach.
You look, when they lost to Montreal and they blew the 3-1 series, I think there was a consensus that if they had won that series, they were going to a conference final, maybe the cup final, right?
Well, a lot of things fell in place for Montreal after that, so you would think.
Correct, but if that were Toronto and they win that round, well, there's a cup run, conference final run right there. That immediately erases the narrative. If you go to the conference final that year, Kirby, cup final, winner, whatever, at a bare minimum, if you go to the conference final, the narrative is erased. They made a run.
Marner goes to his first conference final this year. Well,
right? And then I know we beat them, but there is no way in hell they should have lost to that Florida team. Especially everything they did at the deadline, Kirby. They brought in frickin' McCabe and Nola Chari and Ryan O'Reilly and Luke Shen. They brought in like 5 or 6 different pieces, Kirby, and did all these cap adjustments, right? And moved out this guy. They brought in Sam Lafferty. I mean, they did a really good job. There's no reason they shouldn't have won that series.
The problem with the Marner thing that Beef Cats allude to, and I'm not the biggest Marner guy, you guys all know that. The problem is they didn't replace him for 82 games of the regular season, and that's where they ran up against it. And who's playing with Matthews? Matthews really relied on Marner to be that playmaker for him, and you couldn't put other guys in there. Now I think Matthews is still dealing with very serious injuries, but these other Michelli pieces, Domi, I knew Domi wasn't going to work from day one.
How much of it is, and we'll never know, what would they have done if they had been able to sneak into the playoffs? Like, I don't want to use the Florida example for everything, but when we just made it 3 years ago.
I agree, the O'Reilly. That's when Dubas started to finally listen, or other people got through his thick head that he had to do things a different way.
Well, again, that's 2 years right there. And again, I think you're able to beat Boston one of those. I mean, I just look at it, and I'm personally like 2, maybe 3 years. You look at it, you could look at last year. Those are 3 opportunities they really, really could have, and they had a series lead, and that
changes the whole media, all the pressure.
Like if they make a conference, like one conference final, one cup final, even if they don't win, it's like, okay, they just haven't been able to break through fully.
Yes, it turns into the Edmonton situation.
Yeah. But Kirby, those are 2 or 3 situations. Last year, the year they first lost to Florida, and the year they lost to Montreal, those are 3 scenarios where I'm like, conference final or cup that year were all very, very possible, and it didn't happen. And
this comment here from Antonio, I thought they outplayed him in the first 2 games. Nick was not happy with me, but I said, hey, the Leafs are just playing good hockey. I don't know about that point. No.
They did not outplay us. Maybe for the first 2 games, sure. I think game 2 was very even. Kirby, you even admit it. I think it's a very even game. I think midway through game 3, we overwhelmed. From that point on, I don't think it was close. They were a good team. They improved. I think game 1, we played really bad.
Wall gave them a hell of a chance to win. Was that game 4?
Game 4, yeah.
Okay. He gave
Antonio, we were not down 3-1. We were never down 3-1. We were down 2-0.
We were almost down 3-0.
We were almost down 3-0, but they did not outplay us. Game 1, they outplayed us. And I think because we played really bad. Game 2, go back and watch it.
Hey, credit to them in game 1, because game 1 in 2023, we punched them in the mouth.
Correct. Game 2 was very tight, and they came away with that win. Game 3 was very tight. And then game 4 and on, it wasn't close.
You could argue they did better with Berube than they did with Sheldon Keefe against
they did.
So,
they did.
But it's Berube's fault.
Game 1, they outplayed us. Games 2 and 3 were even. Games 4 through 7, we were even, or we outplayed them. I don't think they didn't outplay us.
Game 6 was a good character push from them, but then you have the 5 and 7 that's always going to be looked at. Right? So like that's always gonna overshadow whatever happened in game 6.
Well, Kirby, game 4, they didn't play well either. That was Joseph Wall.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That wasn't a good.
I mean, you get outshot, 40-20 in game 3. You get pumped in game 5. You get pumped in game 7. Games 2 and 3 were even. I mean,
but that was a backbreaker, Antonio, for the Leafs. But for the Panthers, it wasn't. The Panthers had all the adversity of having to get through Toronto when they were down 2-0 and in that hole coming back home. But Toronto handling pressure versus Florida handling pressure, there's a difference. Right?
I mean, again, I think the second they saw Marchand score, I'm like,
and I never thought Toronto got complacent. I just thought Florida did good with adversity.
Yeah, I mean,
right? So
I vividly remember thinking in this game 3 in overtime, I'm like, obviously if Toronto wins this game, they're winning the series, right? I said if we win this overtime, we're winning the series. And Kirby, I know people get caught up in the narratives. I think who scored that goal mattered. I think Brad Marchand scoring that goal mattered.
Yeah, he was still talked about up here in Canada like he's a Boston Bruin or like he's a thorn in the Leaf side. So I'm not.
Sam Bennett's been talked about like Villain, right?
Different reason. Oh, and remember, if they would have had Anthony Stolarz, that would have been a wholly different series, Nick. That's what Leaf fans are still saying. Give me a break.
We were down 3-1 in a game, Antonio. Yeah. But game 2, I think and I'll stand on it. I think we should have won game 2. And I think that goal from Mitch Marner, and I don't care what you say on Sergei Bobrovsky, we should have won that game.
Oh, he's such a good player, though, Nick. Wasn't a good goal?
No, I think the Leafs win the cup if they beat us.
Really? To beat Oilers? I think the Leafs were getting through Carolina.
I think they were too.
6 games. That was going to be my pick. Toronto.
But again, I don't see how you can overlook.
I don't know on
him.
him.
I mean, Kirby, if they would have lost a 3-2, 4-2 hockey game in game 7, and like Bob came up really big in the third period, damn it, you're close.
I don't know if I'm picking Toronto over Edmonton because how much gas does Matthews have? Is he banged up?
You know what? That's a good point.
Marner over Leon Draisaitl. I don't care.
You know what? I'm probably going Edmonton now that
I'm picking Edmonton. I'm pretty certain. Maybe in 6 or
something. I guess we'll never know, right?
If Joseph Wall's in net, I give them a better chance than Stolarz.
Well, Stolarz wasn't getting them there.
But I know there's so much more that we got to get into, but we might save it for another night, Nick. There's Edmonton, Vancouver. Is there anything you want to address there?
Yeah, I'll go on my rant. Vancouver, I really don't care about. I'm sorry.
And we had a guest last week here. We thank Irvin.
I think you need to fire Adam Foote, and that's no disrespect. I think Manny Malhotra, draft Ivor Stenberg if you can, and that's your start. That's your new start. I'm sure. I think this GM could do a nice job. I think it helps more. I think it's just.
But they're saying he's just there for culture and the refacing of the organization, the rebranding.
Kirby.
You know. I don't know. Nick came on here last year and was trolling about it. I don't know if it was stuff that he had heard.
Yeah. Anyway.
You guys were putting him in a Panther jersey.
I did hear something, yes. And I was trolling.
I had to call Zito and tell him.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think this Johnson guy in Vancouver, I know there's been some complaints, but it's just the same old guy.
Former Florida Panther, former Vancouver Canuck, I believe.
But I think it's addition by subtraction by Jim Rutherford getting the hell out of that building. We'll see what happens.
I liked him for content.
Yeah, well, hopefully he goes to Toronto. Anyway,
yeah. So not much. We'll speak on that more if they make a change in coaching and what's going to happen in their draft here.
Right.
You've gone off on the Edmonton stuff.
Yep. I'll say this on Edmonton. Chris Knobloch has had more success than any of the coaches in Edmonton. Jay Woodcroft wasn't good enough. Oh, now all of a sudden Jay Woodcroft was. He couldn't get a save. I mean, Stan Bowman shouldn't have this job. That's number one. The reason Chris Knobloch doesn't have a job is because Stan Bowman is a moron and Connor McDavid went ghost in Game 7 and in Game 6.
Connor McDavid is still not playing the right way. His best play was in 2024. That second period in Game 7, their entire team, how they played defensive structured hockey, that was from Knobloch.
I'm just going to say this. You got to win the cup. So unless the next guy wins the Stanley Cup, which you have, a year or two with the McDavid thing? Maybe. Bruce Cassidy, if it's the guy. If they don't get Bruce Cassidy, oh, man. And I think the way they did it, too, is they went and they wanted to interview Bruce Cassidy and see if it was their guy. And then if it didn't work out, they were going to keep Knobloch. So Knobloch's their second choice, essentially is what they're saying, right? And if Bruce Cassidy goes to Los Angeles, well, then I think, what are you going to do? Hire Peter Laviolette? Happy birthday, belated birthday.
Yeah, C's. Enjoying it all weekend, I believe. Way to go, C's.
But I think Craig Berube would be an excellent hire there, too. I really think that would actually do wonders for them. Because I think McDavid's talented. How do I say that? I think McDavid will still be able to produce offensively, despite committing one more two-way style of game. Where Matthews, I think, maybe struggle with that a bit, and I think the injuries play a role. But again, coaching was not the issue in Edmonton. The roster construction was, the goaltending move was. But again, They've been trying to figure out the goaltending thing for 5 years, right?
And before that, they were trying to figure out the defense.
And say whatever you want, Antonio. They haven't been able to find anybody better than Stuart fucking Skinner. So I don't know.
And we're hearing stuff. I can say on this a little bit.
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
Florida's in on Stuart Skinner.
Damn right, baby.
There we go.
There we go.
You're first on the Cats and Rats.
Yes, sir.
What was the word that we got back? Absolutely, we're looking at him.
Well, this is that's a guy.
That's a guy. Absolutely, that's a guy. I think that was the wording, right?
But anyway,
we're going to talk more about the Oilers whenever they.
Now, I'm not saying. I want to make it very clear. Not saying it happens, but I think the option's open.
No, we haven't put our flag in the ground for one particular goalie yet, but we've
No,
talked about
my number one option is Bob Binnington. That's number one for me.
Let's get into this now. Is this where we're going to? Unless you want to address the Vegas stuff, we can.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You're the PR guy, the media guy. Go ahead, you.
What do you mean? So you've probably got the press release there. With that fallout with the Anaheim Ducks and Vegas Golden Knights, Vegas has been stripped of what is their second round draft pick here and fined $100,000. Is it?
Yeah.
Right. You might have the press release there from Jim Behringer. I think we had something figured out there. There we go. So I think they're going to fight this pick because this is media relations. And the problem I have with this, Nick, is every time John Tortorella gets fired, he wants a job in the media. And every time he gets hired back as a head coach, he bullies the media and pushes them around. So I have a problem with that. As a coach myself, as someone that's been in media communications, gone to media communications school, I have a problem with how he kind of goes back and forth. He should be working with the media, not combating with them, be combative with them. And he's upset because of the whole suspension thing or the decision. Who was that? Was that McNabb?
Mm-hmm.
When does the media make suspensions in the NHL? They don't have anything to do with that. That's the Department of Player Safety. So he's punishing the media. They're just trying to do their job. And he says, no, we're not going to come and talk to them. Did you see that Mitch Marner clip? We could probably play it. Did you see that before he went to air? He's like, guys, we only have 10 minutes here. Mitch Marner didn't even want to sit down for the press conference. They only made 2 players available. They said, we got to get on the bus in 10 minutes. That was something.
He says, Torch will leave without us.
He's like, he's going to leave without us. That was hilarious.
I'm like, hey, Mitch, if you were in Toronto, maybe not on this.
They might have already left the bus, man.
They might have already left you behind at that point.
It's gonna make another joke, but I'll leave
that. Yeah. Outside of that, I think it's kind of a ridiculous situation. Especially you work in media. You work for ESPN. I mean,
yeah.
ESPN,
he's worked.
Like, look, I get it, and I'm not saying the media is the easiest thing to deal with. It's not, okay, but. And I'll even point to Paul Maurice, what he said. His son, Jake Maurice, works in the media, right? Mm-hmm. And he's always said, I remember him saying, he's like, I'm going to do it because if that were my kid, which it is his kid, he wants them to be treated with respect. And I'm not the biggest fan of all media out there. I respect that because, again, in anything, whether it be hockey, we know our world, right? Media is important. And I just think it was done in poor taste.
We speak our piece because we don't work for the Panthers. We don't work for a team. So we like that independence.
Especially when you're on
We also have a respect for the media or coaches or people.
And I do believe Vegas will get the second back. I do. Die Hard.
I do.
I think they're going to call and bullshit and kiss somebody's ass. We're sorry. Release an apology. Now, Tortorella is still going to pay that $100K. And I really think, it was just done in poor taste. I don't get why he did it. And especially on an interim basis like that. I mean, if you're him, it causes unneeded, and it's ironic because PR thing, it causes unneeded PR. It's a distraction. You're on an interim basis. You're supposed to be a consummate professional, and you're doing shit like this and costing your team assets and money that, you're not there next year probably, right? So I just think it was done in poor taste, and they'll end up getting the second round pick back. I think they've kind of set a standard with this, though, Kirby, and this was a bit unprecedented. But yeah, Antonio, had the Panthers ever been docked a draft pick or fined in their history? Yeah, in 2013, the Panthers picked Mike Matheson, so I would consider that to be.
Hey, hold on.
I know what you're pulling up.
Oh man, I don't like this. That's worthy of the drum, but I'll give you one of these.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
But we could have got fined a pick when we kept doing that leap year thing where we tried to draft Alex Ovechkin 5 times.
Yeah, I love that. I love
could have
that.
been like, guys, if you do this one more time and come to the stage,
You call my office one more fucking time.
you forfeited your first round pick next year.
Oh my god!
I'm surprised they didn't get levied something trying that,
but I do want to speak on the Panther goaltending front. So I've seen some comments here. The Stuart Skinner thing, we'll preface it by saying it's one of the guys that they're looking at because there are free agent guys they've identified. Stuart Skinner is one of those guys. Correct. Jordan Binnington is another one of the guys they've identified via a trade market. I still believe Sergei Bobrovsky comes back. That's my prediction, is that Sergei Bobrovsky, they're going to find a way to do it. And right now it's 50-50. I think it's a bit of a chess match as well as some gamesmanship. But I think at the end, they're going to come together and sign a deal. And, I think they have to look at multiple options. I think Sam Montembeault, Stuart Skinner, Jordan Binnington, they're looking at other guys in the off chance that Bobrovsky either doesn't resign or he does resign, and they need to bring in somebody who can
Alex Lyon comes into the picture. Sebastian Costa, he's younger guy though.
I will, but listen, if Skinner comes to Florida, which I'm going to tell you this, it is a possibility. This isn't like
Nick, your section's going to come to Stuart Skinner.
We're going to become the Stuart Skinner section. We're all going to get mustaches.
Yes. You guys would be on. You'd be on TV. You'd be on everything.
Woo, Stu. No, but
you'd probably be in a new commercial with them down there because he likes to be in commercials.
Well, that's the thing. I could see Binnington being in tandem with Bob. I can see Skinner being there behind Bob. I think again, Stuart Skinner is not somebody there.
Think of it as if this happens, Dyer. Think of it as a 1A, 1B. Where we don't really have that. We haven't had that in Florida. I don't care what anyone says. We haven't had that. Right, Nick? There has been an imbalance from Bob to the other guy. I don't care what you guys think about Lyon, what you think about Stolars. There hasn't been that balance.
Right. And again, it's a guy I think they've identified. It's one of the many names that are on a list for them, I'd assume, that they have to look at and they have to scout because there's no certainty in net right now.
I have heard from the goaltending department. I heard this off air, Nick. They aren't certain if Bob's coming back right now.
You heard, yeah, I heard that too. We spoke to
so they have to have contingency plans.
Well, yes, we spoke to the same person.
Answer very soon on the ball.
Kirby, yeah, we spoke to the same person, but they're not 100% sure. I still think a deal does get done. But again, there needs to be contingency plans. I think Skinner, as well as many other names, including Binnington, are part of the contingency plans. And, I know the whole thing
changed quickly or for the positive, but
I'm not sitting here saying Stuart Skinner's going to be Florida Panther. I think he's going to have some offers out there too. I'm not saying
I'm talking more on the Bob front. Things could change quick.
But I think,
know.
My prediction is Sergei Bobrovsky re-signs with Florida. That's my prediction.
Well, what percentage? Because I've always put it around about a 65-70%. And
that's what I'm still at.
Okay. 65 is getting pretty close.
Antonio, you ain't getting that first round pick. And it'll be in the 20s, probably, hopefully the 30s. Also, Skinner won't be the starting goaltender. I don't think Antonio... he will not be the starting goaltender.
Do we have to write him a whole manifesto of like a 1B goalie and like what these guys are? We got to pull up some numbers on different guys.
Let me make it very clear.
1B is not 1, you guys. The letter B comes after the letter A. That's just like
there we go. Skinner will not be the starter. gosh.
But if the net is there for him for a week or two due to an injury or due to performance issues, he can jump in.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. Would you rather Stuart Skinner or Aiden Hill?
Oh, boy. $6 million Aiden Hill.
Yeah.
That's locked in, I think, for the foreseeable future here, isn't he?
Correct.
You guys that you don't love Binnington and Skinner, I know what you guys are reading online. These guys are not locked in on deals. Binnington has 1 year left, which you can get retainment. And Stuart Skinner is one of the few UFA goalies. So you're not locked in with these guys.
Okay, Antonio, you can't. Have you watched Aiden Hill?
So because he's a champion and Stuart Skinner makes a game 7.
Healthy. Hill's been healthy all year.
I would like to see what Hill would have done against the 24 Panthers or 25 Panthers. I'm just saying, Nick. Do you know what our 23 roster was, Antonio, against Aiden Hill? Nick?
What?
Does Antonio remember what our roster looked like in 2023 against
With
Aiden?
Mark Stahl, with Dennis Sanko playing top 9.
We had Fitzgerald
I'll
out there. Show
Hill
me.
has more upside.
You're gonna say he has more upside right now?
No, that's what they're saying in the chat. I don't like Aiden Hill. I think he sucks.
Stuart Skinner is 27-year-old, chat. You think he has no upside remaining?
It's amazing what happens. Aiden Hill looks great with 27 games, 35 games, plays 50. Save percentage starts to get down a bit. Frickin' becomes the backup. And now he'll be traded.
Go to Money Puck after. Pull up the goal save above expected. We got to pull up the goal save above expected for Antonio here. Cody has shared it over on the X.
He lost his job to Logan Thompson in the playoffs. Hasn't been a full-time starter. And then does this. And those were some damn good Vegas teams he was on. I think Aiden Hill's washed. What?
I'm with that. Here, I think that's a big part.
Kirby.
Antonio, I was the first.
No way.
Antonio, Aiden Hill.
He's so bad.
Aiden Hill was sitting up with me in the press box with the Alberta junior hockey team in Calgary. He wasn't on the ice. There was a guy getting starts over him in junior. He wasn't even dressed. If he was just such this iconic goaltender, he would have been on the ice playing ahead of this guy that's 2-3 years older than him. He was up in the press box with me.
Yeah, you want to know why Hill doesn't let in that goal from Reinhart? Because guess what? Aiden Hill doesn't get that game to game 7. That series to game 7.
Aiden Hill
series
went
is
on
over
a
before
run.
game 7.
He went on a run. I'm going to even say Cam Ward's a better goalie than Aiden Hill. And people talk about Cam Ward going on a historical run for a cup. That's pretty much.
Thank you, Adonis. Oh my gosh. Thank you. No way, Aiden
Antonio,
Hill.
did you watch Aiden Hill against the Oilers last year? Nick, did you watch that series?
Yeah, I watched it. He sucked.
There's a lot of bad goals.
He sucked. You want to know what? Aiden Hill.
He's getting outplayed. I don't want to go down this whole path. He's getting outplayed right now. Or he's lost a job to a guy that hasn't been in the NHL.
He lost his job.
A very apparent reason.
He lost his job to Akira Schmid.
Well, even Schmid. Okay. I wasn't indicating him. I was indicating the guy in net.
I know who you were referring to.
Okay. So is that good on Hill or is that an indictment on Hill?
Hill sucks. Hill sucks. He had one very good run behind.
I want him to go in net. I want Carter Hart to get pumped in game 1 or 2, and then Aiden Hill can come in. We'll see what he does, Antonio. Are you going to say, it's Colorado?
What do you mean they were dead last year? Are you trolling us, Antonio? Are you trolling us? I think Stuart Skinner and Aiden Hill are pretty close. I mean, it's a...
They are. We did our goalie rankings.
Not.
Where did we have that? Where did we have the goalie rankings, remember?
I
know our guy Ryan got mad at us for having Skinner so high.
Ryan, you want to know Ryan?
I think Ryan was mad because we had Knight low. Is that a Ryan W? It could be.
Okay, Antonio, no. Carter Hart is better than Aiden Hill. And what do you mean that Vegas team was dead last year?
Hill's going to be getting yanked if he
I want to know, what do you mean Vegas was dead last year?
Antonio stops Nick in his tracks. There's not.
I mean, I just don't. Are you trolling us?
Oh, look at RC's logic here, Nick.
Oh, there we go.
Your guy Vanacek want to speak on that?
Hey, listen.
RC
If Bob gets pulled for Vanacek, he won't see the ice because we'll be eliminated by then. Okay, I don't know if you're trolling me or not, but there is no way Adin Hill is so bad.
We need to have a conversation with Antonio off air. We know.
Okay, thank you.
Antonio, when are you coming on the members only show? And we need to have Nick there to talk this further.
Dude, man, like
There'll be something.
How about this? We should put a poll up. Okay, you know what? Let's just
on the member side.
Okay, you know, reply in the chat. Who do you guys think is better? Skinner, Hill, or a wash?
Your boy is. That's why I think he's in net with Vegas, because of the history with Philadelphia and when Tortorella was there and what his pedigree was. And it's an indictment on Hill that Carter Hart is in net right now.
Yeah.
This guy has not been active in the league.
I want to know, do people
great.
think so? Beef Cat, you think Principal Skinner is better than those three? I agree. A washing machine, RC says.
Oh man. It's such a polarizing thing with Panther fans because all they see is, and Antonio's not even a Panther fan, but they're getting on Skinner because of what they saw in the Stanley Cup final. We watched the Western Conference final. We watched him outplay Adin Hill.
You know what I want?
Scottinger.
You know what I would want Stuart Skinner's role to be on a Florida Panthers team? 32 to 36 starts. Yes. Preferably none in the playoffs. But if an absolute catastrophic situation occurred, there wouldn't be many guys I'd feel more comfortable with as a backup than Stuart Skinner.
Yep. And that's more starts than Anthony Stolarz.
And you want to know why? Who has more experience in the playoffs as a starter that we can get as a backup than Stuart Skinner? And
Skinner, he is a bit of a roller coaster. But when he's here, he stays on that high.
And I think we can bring that consistently out of him, especially with a lesser role.
Yeah. You're saying less of the valleys, more of the peaks.
Okay, I think you're just trolling me, Antonio. Skinner's 27.
Does he? Let's look up. I wanted you to pull up Money Puck if you can, Nick. Also pull up what Stuart Skinner's all-time record is against the Blackhawks. Maybe he just owns the Blackhawks.
You know, I'm going to look at something. Adin Hill. Adin Hill before he went to Vegas was around a 9-10 save percentage. It looks like.
Pull up the Money Puck stuff.
Well, sure. Why not? Fuck it.
I think the hardest on Adin Hill, but I'm just going to cut you the straight facts.
Look, I don't hate Stuart Skinner the way everybody does.
No, that's why we're becoming his fans.
Okay,
we're getting all the big Anton Lundell fans just because we defend the guy and think he's a solid player. It's like, oh well, we're just.
I agree with this, Adonis, but I think again, 35 games for Stuart Skinner behind our defense. With our goaltending department, I think it works out. And if it doesn't, I'll say I was wrong. Now, if you're telling me, do I want him to be 40?
But if we're wrong, Nick, how much are we paying him? We're not giving him a big term.
I'm looking at a 1-year deal worth, what, $2 million, $2.5 million?
So we'll get a little bit more heat than the Jeff Petrie supporters, whoever those people were. There probably wasn't any. So we'll get a little bit more heat than that. Okay? If he doesn't pan out. But you had better all be here with Flowers if it does work. Antonio? We still want that from the Seth Jones trade, Antonio. But pull up the Money Puck stuff.
I want to just take a look at something last year.
Pull up some more stats.
I want to take a look at something last year in the playoffs. Stuart Skinner, even. I mean, like, even. I mean, like, he didn't perform any worse than with the advanced metrics we're telling him. He did what he
behind the Oilers and Penguins defense, everyone.
I mean, better than Darcy Kemper, who was nominated for a Vezina last year. Better than Andre Vasilevsky. Better than Allmark. Better than Joseph Wall. Better than Aiden Hill, Antonio.
Antonio,
Better
do you
than
want
Connor Hellebuck.
Antonio, do you want Nick to pull up the Edmonton D pairings next and see how good they were? I think Wallman might have been all right.
Okay.
Might have been all right analytically.
But he's making $6 million right now, Antonio, and they want to trade him.
We have better defensemen than Wallman.
They want to trade Aiden Hill, Antonio. They want to trade him.
They want to trade him. He's making $6 million, and they knew they screwed up as soon as Toronto knew they screwed up by signing Anthony Stolarz. Why are both those guys out now? Guess what? Kirby's not a fan of either. I'm not a fan of either one of those guys. Those aren't Kirby guys. So if you think he went on a run, Logan Thompson could have. Bruce Waugh could have done that, Nick.
Who?
Laurent Brossoit.
Oh, Lauren Brossoit. Yeah, I probably.
He got hurt.
Yeah.
He was ahead of Hill.
Like, I look, Skinner, his worst season was probably last season. I'm going to show you this.
Doesn't that show how elite the Vegas 2023 defense was that we could talk about in historical perspective?
Let me see here. We'll get to your thing in a minute, you Meeksy. This was Stuart Skinner, who played 59 games. This is in 23-24. Goals saved above expected, too, which was better than Jake Ottinger, better than Peter Mrazek, better than Ilya Sorokin. Like, again, slightly above average, probably like goals saved above expected.
Again, with not a good defensive team.
Last year, it was slightly worse, but it's only minus 1.5. So again, Skinner, when you take a look at it, is stopping what he needs to stop.
And it's not like the advanced numbers are showing that he's consistent.
Yeah, and he's not giving up. He's not giving up anything really that much more or less. Like, it's basically
Nick,
whatever.
A lot of the fans, they're believing in this eye test thing from highlights showing than actually looking at the numbers.
Stuart Skinner is like majority of other goaltenders in the NHL. He's as good as the defense in front of him.
And Nick, his bad moments get so magnified playing in the Edmonton market.
Correct. And here's the other thing. Stuart Skinner wouldn't have to play 55 games a year, and he would have been able to develop probably a little bit more properly if he weren't in Edmonton, if Jack Campbell had worked out. I'll just say this. If Sam Montembeault, if some of these other goalies were in Edmonton and they were forced to play 55 games, they would have been exposed too.
Look at Honest there. They say one of the best defensive defensemen.
Perfect.
Gustav Ford.
Bring him in. Let me look
Aaron
here.
Ekblad.
Oh,
you know Aaron Ekblad look better?
Hold on a minute, guys. And you want to take a look at this year for Stuart Skinner? Oh, goal saved above expected.
This was the one that Cody brought up. This
better than Wallstead, Ottinger, Grubauer, Hellebuck.
Ottinger again.
Mackenzie Blackwood.
I guess Ottinger's a bum.
Philip Gustafson. Oh, there's Drew Camesso. You know him?
Gustafson, one of Nick's guys.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Skinner's better than these guys, but it just goes to show you that Stuart Skinner has not been the traffic cone goaltender that everybody wants to make him out to be.
We do have some draft stuff there. We have a draft show coming up.
You rather have Soderblom in net over Skinner. Okay, let me take a look at something. So you're saying Soderblom takes the Oilers to the Cup final? Let's see.
Nick, we're going to find some goals for Antonio. We're going to show from Soderblom on NHL Edge that he allowed this year. And I'm going to go and see the real footage, and then we'll show it on NHL Edge.
Oh, okay. I want to just show Antonio something.
How many low danger, medium danger goals did Soderblom allow this year?
Well, let's take a look. Over Arvid Soderblom, he was 8-13-3 with a 3.8 goals against and an 8.80. He is 25-65-14 with a 3.61 goals against and an 8.87 save percentage.
I've watched him some games.
I've watched him. Arvid Soderblom might be the worst goalie in the NHL.
He covers the least amount of net.
And then let me just see.
Everything this level is
Soderblom was 69th, no joke. -4 goals saved above expected, which is worse than Yuri Patera, Calvin Pickard, Ville Husso, Frederick Anderson, Mads Sogard, Lauren Brossoit, Vitek Vanacek. I don't know. I think
Let's get to the
listen,
draft
you
question.
guys are making me. I'm not even that high on Skinner, but the disrespect to him is wild in my mind.
And Antonio's not the only one. Everyone's going to be listening to Antonio here in the chat. He's driving this right now. A lot of this has been online too, Nick.
Are you talking about Soderblom?
Yeah, I think he's talking about Soderblom. I've seen enough of them to be. Yeah, you'll have to show me
to know that he sucks.
My mind on that.
To know that he sucks.
Yeah, how many protected starts does he get now with Spencer Knight and other things like that too?
Like these things, there's other things than just you look at it. Like, oh, well, he had a 925. Yeah, if you play 17 games and they're all against the frickin' Chicago Blackhawks and the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames, then yeah, I'm sure your numbers are going to be great.
Consolation Bowl games.
But when you're Stuart Skinner and you're playing behind Darnell Nurse every night 55 times a year.
And Stuart Skinner coming over to the Atlantic Division playing tougher competition, you'll see how good he will be too. I hope he does.
I think it'll be a very yes, there was a big difference between Skinner, but I don't want Skinner to be the starter. And I'll put it here again. Skinner will not be the starter.
1B is different, backup is different. But again, I think, and Nick's with me on this, I think he's better than a bunch of backups that the Panthers have had.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest.
5,
I think if Stuart Skinner comes here and plays the 33 to 36 games, people are going to be like, the Panthers reclamated Skinner. The reclamation project.
You guys weren't listening to us. Like, they're going to make it a big, it's not big work for
if you put the guy in a position to succeed, I believe he will.
I think the biggest thing is.
You know what, Antonio? I hope Chicago gets him. I hope Chicago gets him next. And then you'll get to see.
Can we get to the draft questions here?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. In the chat, we had one from your boy here. Talking about forwards, I believe.
I'm leaning 65-35 on us drafting a center over a D-man, a Tynan Lawrence, a Vigo Bjork, and one of the top 4 D-man photo us. Vizito takes the center just based on depth on roster and in prospects. So I think if it's Schmitz, Bjork, and Lawrence, it'll go for me like this. It'll go Schmitz, Bjork, Lawrence. And I really
I'm putting Schmitz, Rudolph.
Really? Okay. I think I would take Bjork over Rudolph, but I haven't been able to watch him that much.
Bjork, we'll watch some more film on him, Nick. We haven't really watched much, but he's a smaller guy, really high compete level. We're going to talk with our guest this Sunday. So your boy, I hope you're here for this one. You're going to enjoy it. We're going to focus on Panthers prospect targets, but we'll talk about other teams. Other fans will be in the chat maybe as well. But yeah, we'll focus on what the Panthers are going to do with that 9 pick. But I'd like them to trade up to get Verhoff is my first option. Number 2, hopefully Schmitz falls to you, or you could trade up maybe a slot or 2. And I'm really liking the Daxton Rudolph, thing. This guy's 6'3". He puts a lot of pucks in the net. He has elite vision. I think he has one of the best visions, pass visions in the draft. Obviously McKenna, and there's a gap. But I think he has one of the better pass visions in this draft. And I think it works within our system. And I think if the coaching staff likes Rudolph's defensive game and overall game, then I think he could become a Florida Panther.
Yeah, I also think the other thing they're weighing is,
and he's right-handed.
How immediate of an impact does this guy gonna? Is this guy
Rudolph would be a couple years away.
So I think
that you have Jones and Ekblad still there.
I think that.
Nick, I'm not trading the pick just to trade the pick versus bringing like Rudolph. I'm not just trading it to trade.
We ran through it on Puckpedia. If you're able to re-sign Bob, get Binnington, and you feel good about the free agent / depth pieces that you have, can re-sign, I don't really see a point in trading it other than maybe you trade like a depth prospect or like one of the seconds. But if you get Binnington, if you get Bobrovsky, you re-sign some of the guys you want as the depth pieces. I see Albert Schmitz, Vigo Bjork, a very big possibility.
I just want to jump in. You're worried about your boy, about our center depth. I'm very high in Grayson Sachin. Very high.
Appreciate it, Alechka.
Thank you, Alechka. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank
you for creating the Michael Jackson thing. We tweeted that out. We put it on our Instagram page.
You know, I will be in Vegas next month. And for people who know the area of Vegas at all, that store Michael Jackson's in is in the Venetian. It's a very nice store. It's an antique store. It's beautiful. They have a TV it's like a glass. They have like the doors are open, and then they have like something to the side with like glass, and there's a TV showing, like pointing out.
Like old school 1950 style with the TV in the window.
Yeah, TV in the window, and they had that Michael Jackson clip playing 24/7 around.
We can play it. Can we play it? Can we play it?
I don't see why. I don't know. I don't want to get the estate and I don't want to.
It's not NHL. It's not NHL stuff. We can.
Play it's Michael Jackson. That's a little high.
No, we can play. People don't play Michael Jackson stuff on their streams.
You know,
he's not singing.
Good point.
I think we could play it. Here it is.
Alechka
helped co-create.
Send it to me. Or is it? I'll just go on your thing.
On X.
I got it.
People are loving it.
I will go to,
even non-Panther fans are tweeting it on.
I'm going to that store, and I think I might recreate that.
You said you will, so you better do it.
I want this. I want this. Hey, how much does the Sam Bennett cost? $8 million? Fuck that.
Are we going to play it? Look for the certain management figure that Alechka put in there just to get Leafs fans probably pissed off at me, Nick.
Love it.
Because I'm going to share that throughout next season.
Ah, shit.
I think everyone will be part of it. This is courtesy of 60 Minutes back.
Yeah. That piece of shit, Martin Bashir. But anyway, are
we playing it?
Let me see.
About this one.
About midnight.
This one. About this table. This chess set. Isn't it beautiful, this set?
Your chess set in your library is.
No, this one's bigger.
This
one's bigger.
Wow. Oh, it's sold. Look.
About this one, right?
Is this yours?
Yeah. It's the sold sign, mean it's for me.
This guy. I gotta just say this, man. I don't know how how wouldn't you like to go into a store? This.
Like, no, that was for me. Oh man.
Gosh, that's an iconic video. But I'll go to that store next month.
Yes.
Reminder for everybody, by the way.
Alechka's going to take over for us with Ryan and Jamie. You guys have been slacking this offseason. Nick, you got to be putting together some more memes and gifts too.
Yeah, it wasn't really the best year for it.
Okay.
You know, I've talked enough shit the last couple of years.
I don't usually pump out anything in the offseason, but I thought we need to get something going here.
So the issue he has with Smith is that he needs to be two-way, that his potential goes for the 9th pick. If they don't, okay, that's where I agree with you. I think his offensive ability, particularly the tools, are very underrated. I think he has the tools, Meeksy, to unlock the offensive potential. I could see a 45, 50-point guy. I've seen a comparison to Moritz Seider out there, who's around the 50-ish point mark, but he's a really big defensive
I still see that booming shot, but maybe.
Right? But it's like, if he can get that offensive production, well, Moritz Seider and Schmidt's probably going to be pretty similar players. That's where I am a little worried. It's like, I could see it being more of a 30, 35, 40-point guy and a really strong, like a more physical Gustav Forsling as opposed to a 45, 50-point Moritz Seider.
But I just want to say, your boy, why do you not want a defenseman when you look at Schmidt's? Like, our center depth is Barkov, Bennett, Lundell. Like, we are set for the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think we need a centerman in the first round.
I want Aiden Hill, Arvid Soderblom, Ted Vanacek.
Well, that would be even an insult to the Dollar Tree or Dollarama. We need something else.
I don't think there's any dollar items at that store in the Venetian.
What's the worst, like, just bottom of the barrel grocery store or something? You have to think.
I don't know. We'll have to think about it off air. Yeah, Meeksy, I think the thing with that is, I talked about that with Kirby before, and Kirby, remember we talked about it with Cody. He says he's a number one defenseman. Yeah. I worry about the offensive potential being unlocked. I think the tools are there. I think the tools are there. I just think especially if he can come in next year and be an every game player and then grow into that, and you're confident in those offensive, like I think there's a kind of a 3-step process you have to go through. Is number one, can he play next year at day one, or can he come in at the end of the year, right? And if they're confident in that, fine, then go get him, right? Like if they feel he can make an immediate impact. That's step one.
I just want to say just quickly on your boy's comment. That's playing kind of 3D, 4D chess. So I would
be okay with that too.
You don't. This is what Hart Levine said to us from Puckpedia. If you guys haven't checked the episode out yet, cheap plug. It's on the channel. It's on Apple, Spotify. He said you don't want to put yourself in a pretzel, and he was talking about when you talk about the expansion draft with Jamie's question. But in this situation too, you don't want to put yourself in a pretzel of trying to play 3D, 4D chess here, drafting a guy so you're later going to trade him, right? How about take the pick because you believe in the guy, or move the pick because it's adding something really big to your lineup?
And I'll talk about that in a second.
And we'll talk about that on Sunday.
Step 2, today's Sunday.
A week from Sunday, we'll talk.
Step 2 would be the offensive ability. Absolutely. I think if he can come in day one, fine, check. Do you feel confident enough in his offensive ability that he'll grow into that? Are you confident enough in that even if it doesn't pan out, are you okay with a 30, 35 point defensive player? I think either way, you're getting a top pairing-ish physical defensive defenseman. I think the only question is, how high can that offensive production go? And then step 3, what is the value of that pick to be traded? Or do you feel confident enough to be able to trade up and get a guy you're that much higher on? And that's the balance that they're going to have to be with. I know everybody's kind of just blatantly saying, well, we're trading the pick. We're trading the pick. What do we need? Because I think
some people think we need a winger. Some people say you can't pass on a center. We need defense, and I think a lot of the media is coming around to needing the defense. But again, for 2-3 months.
Again, I think with the way our top four is currently constructed, I think taking a younger defenseman right now to develop and play bottom pair or go to college, junior, AHL, wherever he goes, it's actually the smarter plan. Because why would we go get an Adam Fox and then put Ekblad to a third pair?
And a lot of people are going to simplify it by saying just because they don't know some of these guys or haven't really dug into it. And they could be right.
But they've scouted.
They're saying BPA, just take best player available.
Again, and that's the other thing. You're at a luxury point now where it's like, okay, maybe they don't need to take it. Maybe they just take best player available and they do what your boy said. And it's like, look, if they feel this is a guy that can really be good, keep him. But if not, just trade him at the deadline and we'll have a better idea of our team then. Than
I just don't think a lot of teams do that, though. Like trade him at the deadline.
Correct. But you'll have a better idea.
We're in a unique situation.
You'll have a better idea of your team then than you do now. And Tony, I don't know if we have that expensive of a decor. We're cheap bottom pair. We don't spend a lot on the bottom pair.
Yeah, they always bring in a veteran. You've got Kulikov that's cheap, and then you have Benning that's
Kulikov and Schmidt, I think we're less than $2 million.
Mikala probably got more contract because he got the contract extension last year.
He has $5 million, yeah.
Yeah, we wanted it a little lower. We wanted around
what's Seth Jones at 7.5? So that's
12. I want more attention on that. I think it's is it $1.5 million?
We're paying, I think around is it
7.5? $1 million less now.
12.5.
Or is it $500,000?
14. I think we're paying around 28 million. I don't know where that rings.
As
the forwards, that's
Forsling's very cheap.
Forsling's very cheap. So
I wouldn't say we'd be at the high. Now, if they add another guy here.
MJK, I think none.
Oh, really. MJK, we talked about this on our members only stream with Banksy. Check that episode out. You're a member. Check that episode out. We talk about the 9th overall pick and all the players. Dylan Gunther is one, for example, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So really good names at 9th. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
There's so many options here. Number one, you could pick it. Number two, you could trade up. You could trade down. You could trade it outright. You could pick the best player available and develop them and bring in other guys. Because I think you could solve the goaltending position, Kirby. I think
Zegras was a 9th overall draft pick, I believe, too.
I think 5th.
Okay.
I think he was 5th.
Maybe I'm getting confused. Another Duck. Okay.
I think you could take the best player available. I think you could take Schmitz or another defenseman, either have him play now or develop a year. But here's the thing, and I think this is an important distinction before we do wrap up here, because we're going on almost 2 hours.
Thank you for everyone being in the chat.
Thank you very much. I think you can get the goaltending position solidified and be very content with it without moving a first-round pick. And we've laid it out. I mean,
you can make trades this summer, I think, on the goaltending front, where you don't have to move this pick. Everyone's talking about
correct, and that's where I think the moving the pick's not an automatic guarantee. I think it's more.
Okay, we got a second here, we got a future pick here, we got this prospect here.
I think when we first found out about it, it's like if it's not top 3, we trade it. But we didn't really know how the offseason market was going to shape up, and now we have a bit of a clearer idea. And I think, and I don't want to.
A lot of people are saying the top 10 picks are very valuable.
Correct.
So if teams are not valuing that when they're calling Zito,
then we'll pick it, and you could trade for the prospect later if you want them.
Yeah, or someone else that we have. Yeah.
And I really like that idea. You can kind of kick the can down the road by picking it. Now, there's no guarantee the player will be as valuable as the pick, but I do want to say that we now have a clearer idea that you can kind of probably get your goaltending tandem solidified without spending a first. And I'm going to be honest with you.
I just want to jump in on your boy's question. I don't think it limits a guy like Verhoff or Schmitz. Rudolph might be a little different scenario. I don't think it limits their potential.
Schmitz put him on the Kulikov. Have him play 15, 16 minutes a night.
Yeah, we can roll our 3 pairings at that point.
Yeah, right? So, right. I mean,
that's what Maurice wants to do. Maurice doesn't trust the 5th or usually the 6th defenseman. That's usually the 6th defenseman. He doesn't trust him, so he plays 5 guys. What if you trust him?
Again, Meeksy, if he's playing 12, 13 minutes, yeah. But if he's playing 15 and a half, 16 minutes, maybe getting some power play 2 time. Yeah, no, I think that's, and he can kind of progress into maybe a 17, 18-minute guy as the year goes on.
Takes over Mikkola in a year and a half.
Right? So then it's like, okay.
Then
Antonio, you're not getting that back. I think, and I don't want to call it lazy, but I think people see the pick and they see a need for a goaltender, be like, boom, boom, Panthers trading it. I don't want to call it lazy, but I do think it's slightly lazy because
they're not. I bet a lot of those people, and I don't want.
They're not deeply analyzing.
I don't want to accuse all of them, but some of them aren't even looking at what this value of this kid could be, or these kids.
Well, here's the thing: when you walk yourself through the scenarios, keeping the pick does not seem as bad as it did 2-3 months ago.
No,
and I don't think it's we're trading it. I think
I'll even say a month ago, some of these guys' stock is really.
But I think, okay, there's opportunity for a trade up. There's opportunity for a player you really like. There's opportunity.
The trade up, I like the trade up.
There's an opportunity, Kirby, if they do choose to move it, to trade it for a guy they really like, or there's an opportunity. Stay there, pick best player available, get Bennington, re-sign
This
Bob.
is why we still probably own the pick, and picks don't get traded at this point. But just say, for example, let's just play hypothetical game here. The reason why we still have this pick is because they don't know who's going to be there at 7 or 8. They might want to trade up, and having this pick gives you the value of trading up.
Well, and I will say this is going to go for the next month and a half.
I don't think you move it before you know who's there.
They're not moving this pick until draft day, in my opinion.
Where they start to see the board and know.
Now, unless they get an offer for an NHL player that's like, okay. Like,
so they have their evaluation charts where if we get an offer for this goalie or this centerman, this far outweighs us keeping the pick. So it's the old Dallas Cowboy thing with Herschel Walker.
So I'll say it like this. Yeah, exactly.
But
I think
smaller magnitude. But
when you analyze it, good night, Alexka.
Good night. Thank you, Alexka.
I think that when you take a look at all the different options, all the different scenarios, and you go through them, and it's so much to kind of unpack. There's different values. There's different pathways we can go. There's so many options, Kirby, and it's up to them to narrow it down, decipher, and maximize the value of the pick. I gave you what I think would be maximizing the value of the pick is trade for Binnington, re-sign your guys, draft Smiths, go into next year. there's other options. There's trade the pick for a player. There's trade up. There's trade back. There's this. There's that. There's whatever.
I want to see if I understand your boy's question here. Like, if he outplays like Mikkel, am I comfortable having him in there in the champion? Absolutely. If he outplays
Well, if he outplays him, then yeah.
I'm not worried. You know, I'm not like, oh, well, he's a rookie or he's a young guy. Just like, he's better.
But again,
better than the guy, then
I think this will go till draft. Now, again, Kirby, like you said, if they get an offer for Hellebuck and they're like, okay, we'll do the pick. Like Connor wants to move, fine. Cody inferred Igor Shesterkin an hour or two ago. How realistic is that? I don't know. That's going to, like, in my opinion, that takes Anton Lundell too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to what point are you, to each his own, what point are you willing to go to for a guy like Igor Shesterkin? Now, you get those offers, fine. But I think there is a realistic path this offseason where you can maximize the value of re-signing Bob, trading a second and Mackey for Binnington with some money retained, re-signing Greer, whatever BS guys in free agency, and then utilizing the pick to either trade up or pick best player available, and he can either plug into your lineup or you can wait for him to develop. And then you could either have him join your lineup later, or you can have, like,
I'm with Adonis here. I really don't want to move Lundell.
Or what you can do is you can reevaluate at the deadline. Like, okay, do we want to go after this player? This is a prospect we have. So I think it's very, very important to, exercise all options. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen though, because
Lundell is quickly becoming mine and Cody and Nick's like collective player that like the three of us agree on, because we have different evaluations on all the guys.
I don't want to trade Lundell. I don't. I think it makes us worse.
And it's very hard in the playoffs.
It takes away our biggest advantage in the playoffs.
We're not going to be as effective in the playoffs, which really would scare me on that type of deal. We might be better in the regular season on certain things, but when playoffs hit, that's what
we're a 98 to 102, 103 point team as opposed to one. We
could be a 100-point team without Lundell, but what are we like without him in the playoffs?
Correct. Kirby, I don't think we're a 110-point team. I think we're about 101, 103, maybe 99, and then we get into the playoffs, and that's where we find our groove.
Yeah, if they start off well, I think the start's going to be key to this next season here. Yeah.
Well, Bob was making more money than Vasilevsky.
Not by anymore. Not by much.
And not anymore. But anyway, I think we've been talking long enough.
Yes, thank you, chat. This has been a long
93
points. It's going to be a little different.
93. If we're 93-point team with Skinner and Net, make him our backup, we're a 103-point team, Antonio. And I just want to remind everybody, there you go. Skinner will not be the starter.
And can we show the contest one last time?
Yep. If you want to have a chance to win this Anton Lundell size wall frame photo, please become a gold member. If you want to figure out how to become a gold member, you can go to our YouTube homepage, buy your own membership, upgrade one if you're already an existing member. If you want to give somebody else a chance to win the membership, you may gift the membership as well. All the information for any of that, go to our YouTube homepage and find the access to great perks. We do have gold, silver, and bronze level memberships.
And make sure you guys are following us on all of our socials. I'm going to run them on the bottom of the screen as well. Our guy Big C's, his 40th birthday this weekend.
Yes.
Shout out to Big C's. So make sure to follow his channel. He's very close to 1K.
1K, yeah.
If not already. So make sure to follow all of these handles here. This is how you guys can get a hold of us. A lot of you that haven't joined us over on the Spaces side, we're starting to have some Spaces off-season shows. We had a great one this week. We're going to run one probably weekly to bi-weekly. So if you guys are not on X or not on there too often, make sure maybe sign up an account, come over, join us. You guys get to come up and speak. I know a lot of you that are here on the YouTube channel side know us from the Spaces side. We're going to put up more Spaces Rewind episodes probably in the summer.
Congratulations, Meeksy.
Yes, Meeksy.
Graduating.
Hit the board. Hit the soundboard.
I got it for you.
Congratulations, Meeksy.
Uh,
Along with our guy Matthew and our boy Nick, of course.
Yes.
Congratulations. There we go.
Right, no, there you go.
Nick, we're going to have this.
Thank you very much, Adonis. I appreciate that.
Adonis,
Appreciate that.
Adonis, I don't know. I don't know if you want to share sophomore or junior this year. You gotta let us know.
You got a year left, I think.
He was a junior this year. Okay.
I'm assuming Adonis is asking Meeksy, not me. But anyway, make sure to join us. He's a sophomore. Okay. You're going into it your sophomore year, or you
Or he's
just
going into his junior year now.
going into a junior year? Okay. Oh yeah, Antonio thought. Oh, he graduated from college. Meeksy. Kirby.
Yeah, look at Antonio in the chat. Everyone thought Nick was 50.
Nursing. Wow.
Yeah, nursing. Yeah, I knew that.
Antonio thought I was 34. I don't know if that's a good thing at my age.
People thought Nick was 50, 55, older than me when he first joined us. Remember, it was on the audio side only. You know I got a youthful enough look, but I'm talking audio side.
He thought Cody was like 37. Like, gosh.
People thought I'm in my 30s.
I'm the youngest one. Like, Adonis is younger than me, but I'm young. I'm the youngest one usually on stream. So Ryan Shanura.
Meeksy's the youngest, I think, now on Spaces.
Take the cap off. We got the flow going. Antonio didn't even know I had a flow going until like a couple weeks ago.
I'm getting a buzz cut coming. I'm going to shave it.
Yeah.
Too hot in the summer. But anyways, we're wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's fucking late as shit.
Okay, go ahead. You close us.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us here on another edition Cats and Rats NHL After Dark.
Hit the thumbs up.
Make sure to hit the thumbs up. We hope to be joined by a couple different people next week. Big C's, maybe Cody, maybe our guy Jim Behringer stops by. But keep an eye out on the social medias. We're going to be having a very special guest here next Sunday, roughly around 3 p.m. Eastern time. Also, make sure to stay tuned. Click the notification bell. We'll be going live, even though we're not as much on the podcast side right now. We are always going live or posting videos, doing whatever. So you could be active in the chat. Make sure you drop by for Game 7 live stream tomorrow night. It's Buffalo Sabres and the Montreal.
And we'll be covering conference final games when we can.
Yep. And I know Antonio asked me this a couple of minutes ago. If the Vegas Golden Knights somehow are able to make the Stanley Cup final, I will go, probably, if the tickets aren't ridiculous. So I will be in Vegas. In fact, what I'm hoping for is that Vegas sweeps them because I'll be able to go for Game 4. Yep. Wouldn't that be incredible? But I think if Vegas wins and Carolina wins, Carolina's going to win the Cup. So Colorado is our last hope. But anyway, from myself, from Kirby, from Off Air, Caesar, Big C's, Cody Stevens, and many more, we say thank you. And as always, let's go Cats.